Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. Graham's here. We're live. We are going to be talking about wrapping up the year, looking at the new year, how to not only achieve your goals, but how to not miss the most golden opportunity of the year, which is the end of the year. Everyone thinks about, oh, January is the best time of year. I'm going to have all these goals. January's too late, my friend. It's not too late. It's never too late. But as a business owner, no matter how big or small, whether you're at the beginning of your journey or 5 years in or 10 years in, the end of the year is the best time to plan for next year. Now, if you don't have time to do what I'm going to talk about in the month of December, you can do it in January. I've done it in January too, but I just find that as busy as December is with the holidays, January seems to just start off even faster. So let's talk about my end of the year planning formula. What I'm going to do is share with you my annual retreat. It's a ritual I have. This is a process I have. I'm going to be doing it in 2 weeks' time from now. Usually it's mid-December, right before my kids break for school. And before, because I always shut down for the last 2 weeks of the year. I don't work the last 2 weeks of the year. When my kids are out, we just shut it down and just have family time and enjoy Christmas. So I usually get this retreat done right before that time. It could be early December. That's fine too, but I try to get it in so I can have a plan, shut it down for the last couple of weeks of the year. And then when January 1 starts, or the first Monday of, going back into the workplace and everyone's back at school, I'm not like wondering, what should I do this year? I know exactly what to do. And that's what I want to give you today. Before we dive in, I want to give you a gift. If you haven't already, go ahead and jump into my passive income workshop. If 2021 hasn't provided a lot of passive income for you, then make 2022 the year that you create a passive income element in your business. I don't care if you already have courses or memberships. If you don't have an evergreen system to sell your products without your needing to be on Instagram going live or doing a launch or running a flash sale, then you don't have passive income. Digital products is great, but digital products plus automation and evergreen systems is where it's at. So I want to make sure you have that. It's also great if you haven't launched your business. This is a great workshop, about 45 minutes of didactic teaching. It'll help you know exactly what to do to get started and launch in 2022. So grahamcochran.com/workshop. Go watch it if you haven't already. It's the bomb. All right. You guys ready? I see some people in the chat. Jason says, let's go. Omkar says, hello, let's do this. Zan, welcome back. Let's go. What's up, Nathan? All right, we're going to dive in, and then we'll take questions at the end. So here's what I do. For my planning year-end retreat, I literally go away to a hotel. Ideally, I want to book a hotel for 2 nights if I can, so that I can have an entire 24 hours there. So here's my ideal. I check into a hotel in the afternoon on a Thursday, and I have the whole afternoon, the whole evening, and then I have all day Friday. I get to wake up there, have all day to work, plan, and I'll talk about what we do on that retreat. Have Friday evening, and then the next morning, Saturday, I check out and leave. That is ideal for me. So if you could book a hotel for 2 nights, 1 full day, ideal. Second place to that would be 1 night. And then you try to check in early. So you book it for the night. Let's say it's a Thursday night or it's a Friday night. Friday night works great. But you either call the hotel and say, hey, what's the earliest I could check in? Or just show up at noon. Show up at 11 a.m. I mean, again, checkout is usually 10 a.m., 11 a.m. for most hotels. And if they're not completely booked, there's already a room that's clean. If you get there early, best case, there's a room ready for you. And then you get in by lunchtime or before lunchtime, and you get that whole day, the whole half a day. And then you request a late checkout. What's the latest I can check out tomorrow? And if they say, well, we can push it to 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., then you can still get a possible 24 hours over that 1 night at the hotel, right? Worst case, if you show up early and the room's not ready, you can dump your stuff, and I'm sure there's a lobby somewhere beautiful you could get started even if your room's not ready, and you still can maximize your time. So try to get 24 hours if you can, even if you can only stay one night. And then third place that can still work is a day away, but there's no hotel involved. You just go to some place that's quiet where you can work quietly. That's not your office or your home setup. We'll talk about that in a minute. But somewhere where you could sit for 6 to 8 hours, be uninterrupted. It could be your local library. I mean, do you remember what a library is? Assuming they'll let you into your library, you never know in the time of COVID. People are crazy. Maybe the books might infect you. But if you can go to your local library, quiet, even if there's a school, a university, you can sit in a quiet place for 6 to 8 hours and work. Internet access, you're good. That would be third place. And then runner up, honorable mention would be if you can get a half day. If you can get a half day at a quiet place, a park, somewhere, if you can use internet off your phone, anywhere the library still works, but a half day, like 4 hours minimum, that would be the absolute minimum. And you'd have to do like a shortened version, but even 4 good hours can be better than nothing. What I want you to understand from the length here is like, if you're like saying, oh, Graham, I can't book a hotel, can't afford a hotel, or I don't feel comfortable in a hotel, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do it. That's just a dumb excuse. I'm trying to remove the excuses. If you won't stay at a hotel or can't get away for the night because family or spouse or your commitments, I totally get it. Then at the minimum, you can find 4 hours on a half day. Take a half day where you stop your normal work. You don't check email. You don't help anybody. Your phone's turned off. Nobody can reach you. Just 4 hours to focus, right? That's the absolute minimum. Okay, so that's where I want you to go time-wise. But then here's the kicker to it all is I want you to go somewhere that is visually different and visually inspiring. Our brains are a magical thing, but our brains, when they see the same thing over and over again, they realize, okay, this is routine, this is normal, and I can shut down. And they do that to conserve energy. They do that to be efficient. Right? Like, have you ever driven to work or driven to your kid's school or driven to the supermarket, the same road you go all the time, and you kind of are thinking about other things, and all of a sudden you come to your senses and you've arrived and you don't remember like the last couple of streets or lights because you were driving on autopilot, which is kind of scary to think about, but that's your brain shutting off all the external stimuli because it's all normal and it's allowing you to just focus on other things. It's like in autopilot mode. You do not want to be in autopilot mode when you have your year-end planning retreat. You want to be stimulated. You want to be like aware of everything, which might sound counterintuitive, but we want to do something that Jay Abraham calls the creativity switch, where you just, he says if you go to work on a different road or you walk a different way or you leave earlier or later, or if your routine is in the morning to wake up and have coffee and read the paper and then have breakfast and then get dressed, do everything backwards. Wake up, get dressed, do something else, then drink coffee, then read the paper, anything to get out of your routine so that your brain is like, whoa, this is different. The moment your brain says this is different, your brain is working, it's active, it's firing on all cylinders. So you have more synapses firing. That's where you want to be. I find that different visual stimuli do this for me. So I don't want to have my planning retreat here in my office. I love my office. It's beautiful. I look right outside. I see downtown Tampa, University Tampa, the Hillsborough River. I see palm trees. I see the park. When the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, the boat parade was right outside my window. I was watching them toss the Lombardi trophy. I mean, it's an awesome place, and it's beautiful. It's quiet. I have everything I need here, but I will never do my planning retreat here. Why? Because my brain starts to think work mode. My brain starts to think emails, coaching calls, mastermind, content. I don't want my brain thinking about that. I want my brain to be like, oh, what's this? This is new. I want newness. I want new connections, right? So I like to go to the beach, partly because we have beaches nearby, because we live in Florida. I live on the Gulf Coast. Also because that's my happy place. I am visually inspired when I see the ocean and the beach, and I walk on the beach. So part of my planning retreat involves walking. You might be inspired at the mountains. Beautiful. You might be inspired in the city. Maybe you live in the country or you live in the suburbs, but you like to go into the city and the energy of the city, the sounds, everything. Like it doesn't have to be quiet. It doesn't have to be desolate. It just needs to be visually inspiring and different. So wherever you go somewhere visually inspiring and different, and then a place where you can have a quiet place to work. My brother-in-law, he did his, I think, last year, and he even rented a co-work space downtown for the day, somewhere different, right? Quiet. Okay, how long? We already talked about that. What do you do? What do you do on this retreat, and how does this help you achieve your goals? Okay, there's two directions you're looking, and there's a lot of different things I'm doing specifically. Number one, you're looking back. So you need to review the year. So many of us just keep moving forward, especially if you're successful. This is the trap of success: is you have a successful launch or year or promotion or whatever, and then because you're successful, you're always thinking about the next thing. But the problem is you can never go forward in the most optimal way possible if you haven't looked back at truly what happened, good or bad. So we want to gather data first to help us move forward, but we also want to be in a position of celebration, which is something we usually suck at as entrepreneurs because we just think about what we don't have. Oh, I didn't reach my goal, or I still want to make more, or I still want to do that. And yet you've probably achieved a lot this year. A lot. So what I like to do first is I look back and I ask, hey, what worked this year? What worked? And I've got my notebook, I've got my laptop, and I'm writing this stuff down. I'm not just thinking about it, I'm writing it down. So write down what worked. It might be a product you launched that you're really proud of that is getting people results. It might be a work rhythm, like your schedule really worked out this year. It might be a new home office space. It might be new tweaks to your funnel that you did that are really converting. You're really proud of it. It might be that you finally got serious about your YouTube content creation or your rhythm of content creation. What worked this year? What products did well? What collaborations did you do? Any of that stuff. Write down everything that worked and celebrate those things, right? If you're a person of faith, you thank God for those things. At the very least, you're writing them down and seeing them because I guarantee you there's at least 10 things that worked great this year that you're already forgetting about. Even if you're brand new and you're like, oh, this was the year I bought my domain name. And, I signed up for Kajabi using Graham's link. Wink, wink. And I built my website and it's up. I mean, that's awesome. That worked. Little wins, anything. Little wins stacked up become huge wins. All of it is an opportunity to celebrate. And you need to celebrate to start in a place of positivity and to start in a place of abundance and openness. Because a lot of times we start in these types of planning retreats in a place of scarcity and fear, like, oh, this didn't work. I'm afraid of next year. Because, I know this is an opportunity to reach my goals, but what if I don't reach my goals? We're already afraid of not reaching next year's goals, and we haven't even mapped out what those goals are. If you start like that, your heart, your brain, your mind is looking for ways to self-sabotage, and it's just you're not going to be creative. So you want to start in a place of gratitude, of positivity. I hate that word, but it's a good word. I don't know why. It's just people have tarnish that word, but of what worked, celebrate what worked. And also to remind yourself, hey, what did work? Because we might think we know what worked, but until you look at the data, right? Look at the stats, which we're gonna get to in a minute, you may not know what actually worked. And that's gonna inform what you do next year. Don't make changes until you know what actually worked. You also wanna ask what didn't work, okay? That product launch didn't go so well. That type of content didn't seem to perform very well. That strategy didn't work. Whatever it is, that collaboration didn't work. The thing that I did 2 years ago that worked, I did it again this year, but it didn't work. My schedule didn't work. My work hours didn't work. Anything didn't work, write it down. It's okay. We have to be honest about that as well, because that's going to give us a starting point for what to change. Now, while you're doing the what worked, what didn't work, generically speaking, what are we looking for? We're looking for stats. We're looking for I want all the hard numbers because I might have a sense of what I think things are doing, but the numbers don't lie. So I want to know how many email opt-ins have I gotten? And again, if you're doing this in mid-December, you have 11 and a half months worth of data. So add it all up and then, average it over 11 and a half months. So you have a monthly average as well. But how many email opt-ins did you get? What's your revenue been this year? And you can project out the last couple of weeks of the year. Email opt-ins total, revenue total, email opt-ins average monthly, revenue average monthly. If you're on YouTube, YouTube subscriber growth, YouTube views, get all the data. And then of your income, break down your products if you have multiple products, okay? You might feel like one product's doing well, but when you look at the data, you realize this other product was your best seller for the year, and you might be surprised. So you want to have a breakdown of every product, how much revenue it brought in, what percentage of your total revenue it brought in. Just look all those stats up in your background, your analytics. Like if you're in Kajabi, you can literally run a report in the analytics dashboard for the whole year or the last 11 and a half months or last 11 months and spit out all your revenue. And then it'll tell you like, oh, okay, this chunk was from, your membership. This chunk was from your upper tier of your core product. This chunk was from your mastermind. You can see it and break it all down and write it all down. I like to rewrite it myself. I like to then calculate the percentages next to it so I can go, oh, 70% of my income came from that one product, or whatever it is. I like to sort of see those percentages. And then I also want to see like where there are bumps in the year, like where was a big spike and what was that spike? Was it a promotion I was running? Was it a collaboration I did? So gather all that data and then compare that data to last year's data. So if we're talking about 2021, we're looking back at 2021, compare your revenue for 2021 to 2020. Compare your total email opt-ins from 21 to 20 and look at your year-over-year growth. Because you might think, let's say you made $50,000 this year in your online business, and you're like, that's disappointing. Well, what if you compare it to last year? Maybe last year you made $40,000. So you made a 25% year-over-year growth in income. Hello, who wouldn't want a 25% raise right now? That's amazing. You have to look at it in terms of year-over-year growth, and that'll be very, very helpful. Okay, so that's the looking back part. Now we have data. We've celebrated wins. We know what's worked. We know what didn't work. Now we look ahead to the new year, finally. And we start with what your growth goals are. Like what are your goals for the business? What's your revenue goal for 2022? What's your email list growth goal for 2022? What products do you know you want to launch or need to launch or offers you need to bring to market? What elements of your business do you know need some tending to? Like they've launched, but they could be optimized a bit. I mean, everything could be optimized indefinitely, but like, hey, my funnel's fine, but it's been a while since I've looked at it under the hood and see if I could really optimize it. Just write down any of those things. I want to optimize my funnel, or I've got a product I want to optimize, like my tiers to the product, any of that stuff. I got a membership launch, but I think it could be better. There's some things I want to tweak to it. Write that down, right? These are going to be your goals for the year. And I did a live maybe a couple months ago called 2X Your Growth. And I talk about a concept called goal funnels. And if you're in my six-figure coaching community, that is literally the masterclass that just dropped today. So for December, go watch that masterclass on goal funnels, because that'll show you my process of breaking down, okay, you got a goal, you want to make $90,000 next year. How are you going to achieve that? And we put it through this goal funnel process. But this is where you get your goals based off of last year, because okay, this year, I know what my email opt-ins were. I know what my revenue was. I know what products did launch and did do well. But I know this is what I want to do next year. So you write those things down, you get specific, and then you plan, right? And there's 3 things that I want you to plan. Number 1 is plan your content. I got a whole video I did on how to plan a year's worth of content in a day. I do this on my planning retreat. I spend a couple of hours. It only takes me a couple of hours, and I plan out. I look at my YouTube analytics. I look at my content. I look at what performed well, what people liked. And that helps me inform my sort of content strategy moving forward. What's working, what's not working, what ideas do I have that I want to implement? And I try to use the content bucket strategy, try to have 4 or 5 categories or buckets of content that all my content can fall under. If I have 5 categories of things I would talk about or teach, then I need to come up with 10 content ideas for each of those 5 categories or buckets. That would give me 50 content ideas, which is basically a year's worth of content if you publish once a week. That's all you're doing, is planning out your content in advance, knowing that you're going to add other content as the year goes on, but you want to have a list of at least 40 to 50 content ideas mapped out ahead of time in your content bucket. So plan your content, plan your promotions. Friend, this is the time to plan your promotional calendar. We're going into a new year. You've got 12 months. What are you going to promote every month? Could you promote something every month? That's a great goal. At minimum, promote once a quarter, like to your broadcast list. You're going to have your funnel that's always selling for you with new people, but to your existing list, at least 4 times a year, at least once a quarter, do some big promotion. That could mean launching a new product. That could mean running a special or promotion. That could mean opening and closing the doors to a product that's not always evergreen or open, at least 4 times a year. It could be a Black Friday sale next year if you didn't do one this year. But between 4 and 12 would be a great place to start. Go from quarterly to every other month to monthly if you can. What's your promotional calendar? And literally write it down and decide, oh, okay, I don't want to, that's a good time to promote that, but that's too close to that, so let me promote that. Then map it out so you know when you're going to promote your products. So you're planning your content, you're planning your promotions, and finally, plan your education. If you are not investing in your own continuing education, like you're doing right now, then you're going to grow stale. All of us, myself included, need to continue to learn. So write down some ideas of what coaching you want, like who you want to get coached by, or what masterminds you want to join, or group coaching programs, what courses you might want to take, or what events you might want to go to or virtually attend, right? What coaching, what courses or events you want to dive into in the new year. Write those down. And if you don't know, do some research. I mean, I'm biased, so I would give you some suggestions for my own coaching, but don't just learn from me, but from me, consider making it your goal to join my 6-figure coaching community next year when the doors open up. That's a great place for you to be. If you've already launched your business and you want to scale to 6 figures and beyond, that's a place where you can get the support, the community, ongoing training, coaching from me. It's low cost for what it is. That's a great place to start. If there's spots in my Epic Mastermind, consider applying for that if you're at that level. If you haven't taken any of my courses, Automatic Income Academy, take that. I have some new things dropping next year that I'm really excited about. So if you're on my email list, you'll know about that. If you're not, get on my email list. Who else do you want to learn from? Is there a specific skill you want to learn? You know, do you want to really get better at sales copy? You know, go to Ray Edwards' site and get it in one of his courses and like dive into sales copy. Like this guy has written sales copy for everybody, Stu McLaren, Tony Robbins, like everybody, right? Learn, sharpen that tool. Like, what do you need help with, or where do you want to grow? Like, is there a theme for next year of like, I need help with this, I'm going to go learn from him or her or all of them. And your content, I mean, your education doesn't have to be paid either. It could be, I'm going to start listening to her podcast, or I'm going to start reading his book. My book's coming out in March. You can pre-order it right now, grahamcochran.com/book. But just write a list of people you want to learn from and be intentional to get mentorship from them, free or paid. Even if they don't know that they're mentoring you, right? You can read someone's book and be mentored by them, but invest in your education and plan it out so you know, like, hey, I want to learn from these people and from these products and these resources in particular. There you go. Some bonuses for you of things I do on these planning retreats as well. I bring a few books that I've been reading this year that I know I want to re-reference, like I had good takeaways from and I want to refresh myself on. So I'll bring, it's very Bill Gates-ish when he has his reading week, right? Where he like reads for a week. He brings a bag, literally a girly looking bag of books, usually like on microbiology or economics or something like that. But bring a handful of books, and I reference those books. I reread things that I've underlined, And while my brain is stimulated, I try to be reminded of like nuggets of concepts, of ideas, of quotes, of things that stuck with me. And I want to really flesh out and I journal thoughts there. I journal ideas there. And I dive all in. And it's really, for me, all about business. I don't focus on marriage, family, parenting, personal goals on this retreat. I do this just for my business because the time is short, but I'll do some of this kind of stuff for my family and my marriage and my retreat. I do that stuff with my wife, usually in January. We kind of reassess life together, but this is just for the business. All right. That's it. I'd love to open it up to questions. Let me know what you think about this process, and let me know in the chat if you've ever done one of these planning retreats. How did it go? What's been a big takeaway for you? And if you're going to do one this year, let me know if you're going to do one. And if you have any questions about how I do mine, I'm happy to help. Also going to point you to the Passive Income Workshop. It's a great thing to make sure you go watch if you haven't already. You can watch it on your planning retreat and then try to implement this in 2022. If you don't have any evergreen passive income to your online business, if you're just launching all the time or just running promotions to your list, you're missing a huge part of it. Or if you haven't launched your business at all, this is a great resource for you. Links below as well. Learn English with Debbie says, I love the library. Absolutely. Libraries are a lost art. Jason says, why is it so painful for some people to carve out time like this? Always found it to be so helpful. Yeah, it's a great question because, there's two things going against people. One is the busyness of life. It's already there. It's endless and it's never going away. So it never, listen to this. There is never a convenient time to break away. It's never convenient. When is there a week where you have nothing going on that you're like, this is a great week? If I got away for a night or 2 nights, it won't affect anything. Never. There's always something going on. Maybe if you're single, no kids, you might be in that season of life where you could do whatever you want, whenever you want. And if work isn't too bad, but honestly, it's always inconvenient to get away. So that's the one thing going against people. It's always inconvenient. Never a good time to do this. That makes it painful. And like, oh, but if I got away on Thursday night, like, I miss work on Friday, or who's going to pick up my kids? Or it's inconvenient. And then number two, I think people don't understand just how powerful a few moments of intentionality can be in your life. People think life change happens with massive action. And while that's kind of true, I think massive action really is just the cumulative effect of regular, consistent daily choices in a different direction. But you're never going to make those choices if you don't have a sit down, like a come to Jesus meeting, where you're like, this is my goal. Like, this is what I'm going to do next year. How do I do that? How close am I to that goal? What changes do I need to make in my business? What does my schedule need to look like? Like, you just need that one day, that one moment of clarity to make healthy decisions and then have a plan to implement them so that when you get back into the fray of life, it's going to be inevitable that you reach those goals. But I don't think people believe that it's that powerful. I think they believe if I even got away, I would just sit there and I would just look at stuff and like, what would that really do for my life? They think there's some one marketing hack away from making money. You're one good day of planning and thinking with clarity away from making money. I think that's where it is. Great question, though. Aina says, I did the AZAYA retreat with Eric Edmeades, November 2020 for planning 2021. I don't know what that is, but it sounds awesome. How did it go? What were your takeaways from that retreat? George says, I'm getting butchered by my thumbnails on this channel. Could anyone please advise me if my service is anything very bad design? Oh, yeah. We can't talk about thumbnails here. But if anyone wants to click on George's link, feel free to check out his thumbnails. Simple option trading. I love the idea of taking a retreat, building a plan for the upcoming year. Do you ever assess mid-year and update and fine-tune your plan? Okay, great question. That is my goal, and I usually do that in the summer as a mid-year. My ultimate goal is to do something like this quarterly, and it just never happens because I'm like, oh, I don't know. But on a good year, I do a mid-year getaway. Sometimes that's just like a day. Maybe it's not overnight. Maybe I just block off the day and I do something different. Um, but I do assess. Give you an example. This year, this summer, it was a busy summer because we were moving, right? We were finishing building our house. And so I'm prepping to leave our current house that we were in and get it, it was already sold, but get it ready to hand over. And then moving into the new house and all the crazy stuff. The summer was busy and it felt exhausting mentally. But I was assessing, I took a day to assess this summer and I was like, okay, I know I have some things I want to address. And I wrote them down. Things like making, like, I want to really assess all my offers and I want to assess my funnel and I want to get clear on what is the trajectory of this business. Given that my book's coming out in 2022, I'm moving more into speaker author realm in addition to coaching and in my business. So I had question marks. My assessment led me to question marks. What question mark about offers, funnel, and goals in the next 2 to 3 years because things are changing a bit in my business and I'm trying to get clear on that. I didn't plan anything out, but I was like, put a pin in that. I need to figure this out by the end of the year. And those are the things that I've been working on in the last few weeks, getting ideas for before I dive into my planning retreat in a couple of weeks. So good question. Jason says, I think people are afraid to be alone with themselves. Self-discovery can be a double-edged sword. It's worth it though. Oh, see, I'm a weirdo. I'm never afraid to be alone with myself. I'm too alone with myself. I self-discovered too much to the point that I sometimes lose my mind. I love it. But maybe people are afraid. Amner says, I'm going to do my first retreat this year. I will follow your advice and planning philosophy. I'm so excited for you. This is going to be game-changing for you. It might be awkward. That's okay. But do it anyway and come report back. Zan, Graham, curious, do you believe in following the SMART goal system? Remind me what that acronym's for, like measurable, achievable, something, something, something. I don't do them clearly because I don't even know what it is. Be Lazy Beats. Do you have any go-to software apps for your planning? I just use pen and paper. I have literally a legal pad. I write everything down in a legal pad. I like to physically write it. When the pen touches the paper, my brain comes alive in a different way because I'm usually typing things. So I try to pen and paper at first. I'll draw things. I'll write things. I'll write notes to myself. I'll underline things. And then I'll move to a Google Doc and just write down goals, timing, calendar stuff, all that kind of stuff. On the Level Leadership says, I took a half day to do content research around my niche. It came up with 56 weeks worth of content ideas thanks to your suggestion in the past videos. That is amazing. Ology, with key stats from last year, like monthly opt-ins, for example, is it helpful to try and predict next year's number? For example, sales per month given predicted monthly opt-ins. Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of where I like to base my goals from. I don't like to make up random goals. Like, if, for example, if I made $50,000 this year, I wouldn't say I want to make $1 million next year. Anything's possible, but I like to make realistic goals and then push them just a smidge. So I'm not like a BHAG person, like big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm not a BHAG person. Crazy goals don't motivate me because they seem super disconnected from my reality. And so it leaves me with an excuse to be like, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. How's that going to happen? I have gotten much better results in my life by looking at the current reality. So in this case, like monthly opt-ins, going, okay, if I'm averaging 500 new opt-ins a month and I'm creating this amount of revenue based off of that in my funnel, I think I could grow my opt-ins by, 25% next year, and revenue could go up by 25%. But I really would love to shoot for maybe doubling my opt-ins, or if opt-ins are 25%, like increase those by 25%, but then also increase the conversions in my funnel by an additional 25%. So between just more people going through the offers and it converting better, I could double revenue. Like, I'd like to have I want to see the realistic path to the goal and then just push it a little past it. So it's a little scary and a little motivating, but like, okay, I can do this to the point where like, I really have no excuse not to at least grow by 25%. Right? Like, you don't need massive growth year over year to achieve six figures, multiple six figures, or seven-figure growth. You just need steady plotting, right? So I like steady goals that push me just a little bit. Amner says he likes being alone as well. He's a weirdo like me. Excellent. Zan says smart goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Dude, I like that. Yeah, your goals should be very specific. Like, you need to know if you've reached them or not. So specific and measurable to me are the same. Achievable and realistic, that's what I'm a big fan of, is like, it needs to push you a little bit, but it needs to be within the realm of possibility. Now, if you need help understanding what's possible for you, then talk to me. Like, join my community, watch my videos. Like, I'll give you goals. I'll push you a little bit in terms of what's possible, because sometimes we don't know what's possible. But I see too much of the opposite. I see too many people who, like, Graham, I just launched, I made $5,000 this year. I'm gonna hit seven figures next year. And I laugh at them in my heart out of pity, because I'm like, you're not, because you haven't given me a plan on how that's going to be possible. And there's no indication that that's possible. I'm not a negative person, but what I'm sad, because I'm like, that person's not going to reach seven figures next year. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to give up. Growing quickly should not be the goal. Building a business that can systematically scale with like marginal effort, and it's poised for a 10 to 20 year run, and it's mostly passive, take your time and get there. That's the kind of business I want. Leading Worship Well says, this reminds me of the quote from Martin Luther. I have so much to do today. I think I'll take the first 3 hours to pray. Yeah, preparation is as important as taking action, because it provides clarity. That's a great point. Yeah, Martin Luther has some amazing quotes. The Reformation, the pastor, it's a good example of like priorities. As much as I love producing and being productive, busyness and doing stuff isn't the goal. Doing the right things efficiently and with excellence is the goal. And you don't have to do a ton to achieve your dreams and your goals, but you do need to do the right things. So there is the deep work of looking back at your business and getting very clear on, like, what of my business worked, even if you're reaching your goals. Okay, this is not about you. This is not just for you if you didn't hit your goals this year. Well, it didn't work. No. If you're achieving your goals, you still need to know why. Why did you achieve your goals? Because it's all a test. It's all like, for example, this business grew exponentially. It's more like in the last 16 months, it's like 4x to 5x. It's insane. And I could just sit back and say, oh, great, it grew. This is awesome. Let's just keep rolling. But I'm not, because I want to understand, why did it grow? Because if something's working, I want to double down on that. If something, like some parts of my business, the growth is phenomenal, but some parts of that are being covered up because of the growth, and they're not performing as well as I believe they could. And so I'm looking at a lot of those things in the next 2 weeks. Like, anybody might tell me, oh, those are great numbers, you should be happy with that. Yeah, but it's not much better than it was last year. Some of the business is plateauing, some of it's growing. I want to put fuel on the things that are growing, and I want to get my hands dirty in the things that aren't growing to understand why, to improve them or replace them or make changes. And then the things that didn't work, I want to understand as well, of course. But that preparation can give you so much insight, so that then you can go execute on one thing that could change your business. Your business might be one idea away from doubling next year. Like, your business might be one idea away from adding an additional $100,000 a year to it. Would it be worth it? And that's very realistic for a majority of you guys, even if you think that's crazy. Wouldn't it make more sense to take a half day to figure out what that one idea is, than to just go guns a-blazing and launch all these things and do all the things you see all these people doing because you hear that they're working, and it not really amount to much, maybe some growth? I would rather start later, but have spent some time planning to know the one thing that's going to add 100K to my business next year. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. Voice Your Dream with Miho says, I want my time for a retreat for my 2-year-old daughter. Yeah. So is there any way you can have someone watch your daughter for a day, for an overnight? Is there anyone that you could just beg to help you out, to give you some of that time so you have some time to yourself? Especially when the kids are little, that retreat is so important because you feel like an adult. You can have a nice meal, you can have a nice drink, you can have a nice slow, quiet pace, and not feel the burden of your responsibility, which is a healthy burden. But if you can get someone to give you a break, I think it'd be really good for your soul. Nathan says, this is awesome, Graham. Thank you. 2022 will be my first year of online business. As I set goals, what's your advice on setting realistic goals for year one? So realistic goals for year one, they're different for everybody. So I can't tell you exactly what your goal should be, but it should be to launch a paid offer and build your system for capturing leads and offering them that offer, right? That's a huge goal for year one. I don't know what that revenue goal will be for you, but get your paid offer launched and know who you're serving and have your system set up where you're capturing leads regularly, offering them product regularly, automatically. That's a huge goal. And then you could set a monetary goal to that if you want. $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, depends on what your price of your product is, how many people you think you can build in your audience. It's hard to know when you haven't started. But along with that, you could always launch with coaching, one-on-one coaching, in addition to the products you're building. And so you could have a coaching goal because that's a little bit easier to control. Like I want to coach 5 people next year at this price point, maybe 5 $1,000 packages. So I want to make $5,000 in coaching all of next year. And I want to launch my product, get consistent leads coming in from my content, get my funnel in place so it's working. That might be a great goal for year one. Omkar says, what is the future of content marketing, YouTube specifically in 2022? Two things. One, my dude Marcus has been basically running my YouTube channel since this summer, has been compiling all of this data for us. I need to review it. So I will know once I review his report. I have some indicators of what's working and what will work next year. But a lot is the same. Some of the bigger changes we're seeing in terms of like SEO on YouTube are chapters in YouTube videos, right? Where you can break up like minute 1 to 7 is about this. Chapters are really important. The keywords you put there, what you name those chapters is more searchable and more important than tags were, right? Putting tags in your email, in your video at the bottom. So chapters are important. YouTube Shorts really are great for discoverability. We've been really trying to crack the code on YouTube Shorts for my niche, which it's hard because it's like business advice, which might be a little dry for what people are looking for stupid, funny videos on YouTube Shorts. But the short shelf, having shorts go out is a great way to get in front of a new audience that doesn't know you and isn't looking for you. And we have found we're starting to get some momentum there. And that's some data, again, that Marcus is pulling for me. So we have more of an indicator of what about it has been working. And that stuff I'm going to be teaching to my 6-figure coaching community members in the new year as well. We pull that together. So join that community. And that's going to be one of the master classes next year. Claudio says, just want to let you know that your lows are pretty hot on your voice. I'm not sure if it's just my speakers. Oh, yeah, I'll take a listen afterwards. Terry O'Brien says, do you find a particular time of day works better for you to do planning in general? Are you the type to plan on a Sunday evening for the week ahead, for example? I can plan any time of day. I usually want to be awake. So I'm the most alive between, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. in terms of like content, like production. But I really come alive at night. Like last night, I had a million ideas and I don't work at home. I don't work at night, but I had to pull out a notebook and write down a bunch of ideas because they were just coming to me last night. So all my planning retreats, they're productive all around the clock. Morning productive, afternoon productive, evening productive, late at night, usually late at night after a day of planning and produce. Like I have to just watch TV or watch a movie or watch football or something. Zan says, I joined Six Figure Coaching Community. Highly recommend others join us too. Hey, thanks for joining. I'm so glad to see you in there, brother. And then Amner says, 80-20 rule is one of the most amazing things, Graham. Learn that thanks to your continuous advice on the recording revolution here. Work smarter, not harder. Absolutely. 80-20 is the secret. I think, and we'll end with this, 80-20. I think people don't believe that it's true. So they don't give it enough credence. But the moment you realize that it is 100% accurate, maybe it's not 80-20, maybe it's 90-10 or 75-25. But as long as you understand that the lopsided nature of things is a universal reality, it takes so much of the pressure off, and it makes you realize, look, most of my videos are not going to be that great on YouTube. Most of my products are not going to be that great. Most of the emails in my funnel are not going to be that great, but gosh, 1/5 of them, 20% of them are going to make all the money for me. 20% of my videos are going to drive all the traffic. 20% of my products are going to put all the money in my pocket, or the majority of it. And 20% of the emails in my funnel are going to be the ones that convert. You don't have to hit it you don't have to hit a home run with every single thing. There's too much pressure on people. We should do a whole video on this. Too much pressure people put on themselves. Like every post has to be amazing. Every video has to be out of the park. Every product has to be world-class. Good luck with that. I don't know anybody who's world-class at everything they do every time. Even your favorite author. You know that not all of her books are amazing. She's got that one book that's freaking amazing. The rest of them are okay. And if you're a super fan, you love all her stuff. But we all know that that one book is the book. Same thing with people's videos. You might find a YouTube video that's got millions of views and it's like the video, or they might have 10 videos that are like the videos, but the other thousands of videos are just okay. That's okay. I feel like that just, if you embrace it, it takes the pressure off. And then it makes you realize, dude, the way you win in this game is to consistently produce so you can find the 20% of content, emails in your funnel, products, promotional ideas that work. All right, that's it, friends. Go and have an amazing rest of your day. Please plan a retreat. Go do it. And then come tell me about it. So good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It's amazing. I'm going to go do some planning of my own. I have some things I'm cooking up, and I'll see you guys next week.